Potheads and Political Junkies. You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I'm Jeremiah, editor of Cannabis Culture, here with Johnny. He's hitting the mothership.
We got some.
Hi, Johnny. Well, now we started the show. So there you go. What's up, Potheads and Political Junkies?
What's up, Potheads and Political Junkies? Where can you buy a mothership? Pretty much, there's a couple places. There's High Integrity Art and Glass, and then there's Liquid Chrome. That's in Canada, that I know of.
Yeah.
Someone was asking in chat, so I was going to throw that out there.
There you go. Yeah, we were... Yeah. Sorry about the sound there for a second.
We're reminiscing about what's happening in Canada.
Started. For some reason, it always knocks out as soon as we start. So,
and I was reading something about Justin Trudeau stating that he can't do anything about the clubs that are being busted right now. And you've been talking with John Conroy about some stuff earlier today.
So, sorry, Justin Trudeau said they can't do anything about it?
I was reading something.
Oh, I didn't see this yet.
As I was coming in, it was a post that was put on the Cannabis in Canada through Jen Burnett. She put a post on about the reasons why Justin Trudeau can't do anything of what's happening in Parliament. And I was reading it, and then I had to leave to come down here. It was commentary on what he could and could not do. It wasn't.
Well, that's not a quote from Justin.
I'm sorry.
No. Okay.
I need to smoke
He
more.
hasn't said anything. He hasn't said peep since he got elected about this issue. Though before he got elected, he did support the Winnipeg dispensary that was being busted at the time. And he said these things should be allowed to exist, seeming to give support to the Vancouver-style dispensaries that are totally illegal. And then when he gets elected, they're just blowing in the fucking wind.
Civilized life. Justin Trudeau order. See, there's a little link there right in our in chat. Someone's put that in there for us already.
Oh, here we go.
Which is great to see.
Oh, can Justin Trudeau order the raid here? Let's
it's civil life. Civilized life is what I was reading.
I'm going to open my chat and another thing here. So, no, we know that these guys haven't really done anything, the Liberals, that is, to try and stop it, besides, like...
Be quiet?
Yeah, well, they haven't done anything. They said, they had their throne speech where they included marijuana in the throne speech and
but
said it's going to be legalized.
Restricted. Restricted. That's what I didn't like the words of how.
Why do they? Why do they want to restrict? If you want to restrict it from the kids, okay, I got that. Restrict it from the kids, but who else does it need to be restricted from? What does it? It's not hurting anyone. It's a goddamn plant. There we go. I got the computer out of the way. Maybe I can put the edge in there, just so you know I'm looking at something. Oh yeah. So on the show today,
share hash, so.
Nice, thanks, Johnny. On the show today, I did have a conversation with John Conroy. I talked to John, cannabis lawyer extraordinaire, this morning. John is currently meeting up with people from the local dispensaries here in, I guess the Nanaimo folks, the Vernon people, these kind of folks, talking about what can be done to fight back against these raids that are happening.
We had that one club out of Kelowna, out of the Kootenays, that was putting instead of closing their doors and keeping the doors open and getting busted, they kept the doors open, stopped selling, and they're going to put their money that we're saving in case they did get busted to try and create more of an awareness of what's happening. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know the name of the club exactly.
Which one was it? Yeah.
They were just here with McMahon.
Kelowna?
On his show.
Oh, you're talking about Vernon.
Yeah, Vernon. Thank you.
Yeah, Vernon, not Kelowna. Yeah. That's right. That's Jeff from Vernon. So they were doing the rotational thing. Yeah, I was like, man, these sounds like Kelowna's doing the same thing Vernon's doing. They had it's an interesting idea to do one at a time or, try and outwit the cops or something. But as I think Neil was saying, the cops would just stake the place out and if they're going to rotate who's going to be open or whatever, they're going to figure it out anyways. Jeff was on Opus, the 420 Lifestyle, this Monday, so you can check that out. It's online right now on Pot TV. Yeah, and the lighting today is strange. For some reason, when we sit in front of this black background, our lighting gets all really warm. Like, look how warm the lighting is. We're like red.
Hey.
Look at us. We're like, look at you. You look like you look like you just got out of the sauna. But in Minicam, they have a balance for that. Let's see here. No, that's saturation. Whatever. See, here's the anti-red.
It's raining out.
But that's blue. Now look at all the colors. Now we could go really.
Can we go Smurfy blue?
Smurfy blue. We could look. That is Smurfy. There we go.
We're always having fun and finding out.
Fun in the hood. Fun with colors.
Having color.
Oh, hey, look. Oh, now we're really getting complex here.
There we go.
Color balance.
So it's
but we're
really
still red.
interesting.
It's the camera that's doing this balance. It's
Look
not
what's happening
actually.
in Toronto right now. Upwards of 25 clubs have popped up in the last 30 days or something.
25 in 30 days?
Like how many clubs I'm hearing? I was talking with Tracy and she was telling. I don't say there's 25. Isn't there 25 clubs in Ontario?
No, there's
now?
35 that I've heard.
35 in Ontario. No.
Yeah, in Toronto. Okay, I was told that there's 35 in Ontario or in Toronto itself,
Well,
which
Dana
seems
was
like a
there.
hell of a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but
it's
that's
like it just went
that
through
was
the
during
roof.
the time of the Karma Cup, though, that they were saying 35. But so
Well, I'm just talking with some other people that are in the midst of opening up new clubs. I know Dana was out there a week ago, and he left one club, and he says within a couple block radius, he found 5 more.
Yeah, well, they're everywhere now. It's just going to be like
is
Vancouver.
Great. So
we want
yeah,
a cannabis
open more.
culture. Toronto. We need a cannabis culture. Toronto. We're doing.
I think
it.
we need a cannabis culture. Alberta, Manitoba, every
Cannabis
every
culture.
province.
Alberta would be hilarious.
Why not?
Cannabis culture Edmonton.
Why not?
Do it in Calgary or something. I've never been to Alberta, but it seems like it'd be a fun place to go. We could have like bull riding at the. We could have a big mechanical bull in the lounge. Isn't that what they do there?
I brought something for us today.
Oh, Johnny's gonna demonstrate the cannabis suppositories on the show today.
So we'll be doing that later on if anybody's.
Do we have a
a
volunteer?
volunteer for some suppositories?
Neil volunteered.
Actually, these are working very well. They're in my shirt pocket.
Neil's gonna get his shorts on, so you won't need to get undressed or anything to apply them.
Demonstrate, laugh out loud. The suppositories been working very well, and I've tried them myself, and we've actually they helped out a dear friend of ours, Guppy, when we might as well mention about.
Yeah, well, I definitely wanted to say something. I mean, we had we talked about Guppy on the other show too, but yeah, Guppy was an amazing guy, and for those in the cannabis community here, Guppy Fish means a lot. That name means a lot to people around here.
Huge.
And I think for people Gup was at every rally. This guy was doing this for a long time.
He's taking every pic.
Taking so many photos for Cannabis Culture, and for he had a massive archive of photos. I put one of his Guppy galleries up on Cannabis Culture in my latest blog post, so go check that out. It's on the front page of CC right now. You can find some of Guppy's work and just information about Gup. He, was doing this for a long time and worked really hard, was extremely dedicated, not only to art because he loved photography, but also to the cannabis plant. And he put in a lot of work, so, it's not just his friends who benefited by his amazing energy and personality. It's everybody, because without guys like that, Guppy was one of the diehards, That's right. And as Neil said, one of the kindest guys on the planet. He sure was. And I'm trying not to be too sad about the whole thing, because I think Guppy he's the kind of guy whose presence is so strong that he's still dancing. Yeah, exactly. He's still chilling.
Every wall he touched and every person that he inspired, he helped so many people in this community in more ways than a lot of people would. A lot of the people that I know that I'm saying this to really will shake their head and say, he helped tremendously. He gave a lot of people spirit. He gave a lot of people life. He gave people hope.
Yeah, big time.
I know when I met him when I was, when I first got hurt, and he walked into my life, and it's just one of those persons you never forget.
No, it's definitely true. Yeah, Guppy's a pretty amazing guy. Right now there's a tribute to Guppy on the front page of Pot TV, actually, from Opus's show on Monday. Opus, the salute to Guppy Fish, so go check that out. I think
I came down and
things to say about it and
had
stuff.
some things to say too.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, tons of stuff going on. There's this poll we wanted to talk about here. This is the Forum Research Polling Company.
Polling company.
The Forum Research Polling Company in Canada. 1/5 use marijuana now. That's the headline.
1/5 of people in Canada use marijuana.
What kind of headline is that, anyways? As Neil said, admit to it.
1 in 5 smoke weed. How about you guys? You part of that 1 in that 5? See some hands out there.
Most wanted grown, sold through government agencies. Okay, I'm going to read you guys this. In a random sampling of public opinion taken by the Forum Poll Research Company, among 1,369 Canadian adults 18 years of age and older, 1/5 have used marijuana or cannabis in the past year. So 19% have used it in the past year. 1/4 will use it in the future once it's legal. 24% will use it once it's legal, they say. Anticipated usage is highest among the youngest, so 41% will anticipate to use it. Mid-income groups, 40K to 60K, 29. So they're rating people by their actual, like,
By their age?
not only their age but by their income bracket. So people that
Really?
make 40 grand to 60 grand will use it. 29% anticipated usage.
So the people who make more money, do they spend more money on weed? What's it say?
I guess this is if it's legal. 29% of the people in that bracket will use it. Among green voters, 42%. These are weirdo stats.
Yeah, I'm curious.
They're
now.
really giving a
I'm
lot of weird
interested
stats.
about
So,
this.
so green voters apparently will. 42% of green voters, or people that identify, will smoke. That's funny. Well,
Most wanted marijuana revenues.
we know who our friends are.
Huh?
Conservative voters, only 11% of them will smoke, but that's still 11%.
It's the home growing thing that got me upset.
Yeah, so the home growing thing is the thing that's making my mouth taste funny. The home growing thing, let's see here. Most want corporate production distribution model. Largest groups of Canadians in
Well, that's gonna
total
be the more of
believe
the-
marijuana should be grown by large companies and sold through government agencies where it can be restricted, regulated, and taxed.
Oh, there's that
40% believe
restricted.
So
part
it all
came
depends
into
on
play
how
again.
they ask these questions when they're doing these polls, though. You know? So 40% want it restricted, David, regulated, and taxed. 40% of Canadians in the new Forum Research poll. David Malalevine in the house. Just 1/6 opt for an individual model where private consumers may grow the product and distribute it as they see fit. Only 1/6.
The people who are familiar with PPS, Health Canada weed.
See,
Yeah, I bought that, tried it. I even bought seeds
but these people
from,
don't know what's up. They don't
PPS.
understand.
No, that's a pre-debate.
They're all, are they Trump voters?
We should have
Canada, though.
Post-discussion poll after people have been educated
Right.
as to what models are better.
So again, just 1/6 opt for an individual model where private consumers may grow the product and distribute it as they see fit. As long as they restrict it by age, 15% want that. A similar proportion wants to see a combined model with corporate production and distribution coupled with an individual grower exemption. Just more than 1/4 do. So that means more people want growing then. So they're skewing the
It's a 1
statistics
minute
a
warning.
bit. So people still want home growing, but they also want home growing and this.
Well,
So 30% want home
pretty
growing.
much- it's pretty much like I say, don't take away my right to grow. I'll continue to keep growing my medicine, and that's my right, and they should never take that right away. And then there's the people that I think they're trying to put the recreational market saying, well, recreational should be able to grow too, in my opinion. So if you're a recreational user or you're a user, period, you should be able to grow your own.
Mm-hmm. But, well, okay, wait. Let's look at more of these statistics here. Just more than 1/4 do not want to see any model used, and these are citizens opposed to the legalization of marijuana. Oh, okay.
Don't take away my right to deal.
David doesn't want his right taken away to continue to deal.
Current marijuana users
That's
are
very
relatively
important.
equally likely to favor the corporate model, 31%.
And pretty much don't take away the rights
And individual
of any
model,
individual
33%.
with a plan.
So 33% want the individual model, and 28% want the combination model. So of current
420.
marijuana users, of current
That's a
marijuana
happy 420,
users,
guys. Sorry, Jared, I gotta cut you off.
that's 420. Good. Happy 420. So of current marijuana users, there is 60% want home growing. That's what really comes out of that.
If the Supreme Court had listened to me back in 2003, you don't have the right to do any harmless activity, which would be all growing, all dealing, all smoking, all smuggling. Pretty much every flower
Johnny?
imaginable.
So these numbers are pretty good, actually. Earlier, when we were talking about it, it was like, oh, everybody wants the corporate model. But they favor the corporate model, sort of.
They
Not
favor the
really.
home
Not when you
growing
talk to
model.
marijuana consumers, though.
Including
Marijuana consumers
corporations rather than exclusively
include only an inclusive model of everyone. So, and 30%, only 31% of current marijuana users want a completely corporate model. So, that's not so bad, Neil.
Well, just legalize it. That's what we're waiting on. It's the legalization.
But see, legal, how though, Johnny? What does legal mean?
Well, if we take a look at the Jamaican legalization model, where they have for tourism, they have for personal grow, they have for personal consumption, they have for religion, they have a wide variety of access for what is being involved with. Even look at like Uruguay. We look at other countries that are legalizing. Washington State, well, that's kind of different. What's happening down in Oregon right now? Everybody's kind of running to find out what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's another thing too, right? So what's happening? What about Colorado? Like, what are we looking at, and what's Canada doing? In reality, Canada has 25 licensed producers that spent millions of dollars on a system that was set into play. We have more that are trying to get those licenses to produce. Well, we always thought, why are they trying to have 200, 300, 400 licensed producers to supply marijuana to patients? It was like absurd. It was ridiculous, right? Now with legalization, it makes sense because now they can open up storefronts right across Canada, and by the sounds of it, through liquor stores or, like I say, like a Shoppers Drug type model when they come to like suppositories or
Fuck the liquor stores, man.
Well, you know what? Don't put patients in liquor stores to buy medication.
No,
that's really reality. And
wow. Bless you, Neil.
Bless you, Neil.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I don't really care. If they have medical marijuana dispensaries and you can go to liquor stores and get it, then who gives a shit?
If I'm going to a liquor store and
That's still a lot of weed, though. So go get a medical card if you want really specific fancy pants marijuana or whatever. You want, like, the genius to give you the weed genius. We should open like an Apple store for weed and have like weed geniuses. That's what you can call them.
It's pretty much if you go to any liquor store across Canada, Grey Goose is Grey Goose. If I can go to any store across Canada and get, some Medi Kush or some Tangy or some watermelon or some Jamaican or whatever say be, and it's the same. 100%.
If a grocery store can sell all kinds of fancy weed, I am 100%.
I don't shop at
Save on Foods selling alcohol. So if
I live in Abbotsford, so
if I could go buy weed at the grocery store with this new model, then yeah, I'd be fairly supportive.
I shop organically, so that's probably the reason why I'm not seeing alcohol in my.
Everybody should be allowed to sell it, though. That's the thing.
Well, they sell cigarettes everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Except for liquor stores. Go figure. So you know what? Then we'll put the weed with all of the government regular stores, and we don't have to sell liquor. We don't have to sell weed in liquor stores. Where I can buy my tobacco, you should be able to buy your marijuana.
So everybody wants, like, this poll also touches on what people want to do with the money collected from the taxes.
Yeah, just sell it. We don't care who sells it. Just sell weed. And I'm going to continue growing mine.
Most people want it to go to pay down the national debt. That's what they have people so fucking fooled. Man, society, jeez.
What would pay off what debt? The one that's being created out of a piece of paper?
I know, it's all, that national debt's a bunch of bullshit.
It's just a piece of paper.
The most popular is deficit and debt reduction, 21%, followed by drug addiction treatment programs.
What? Oh, we need drug addiction treatment programs?
Not for marijuana, I hope. Okay. And general revenues, 14%. Other beneficiaries not widely supported include a tax break, 12%. Well, I'd say that's pretty widely supported. Infrastructure and transit, 10%, and alcohol addiction treatment programs, 3%. That's what you should really be focusing on.
I think you should be focusing on cell phones and people driving.
Cell phone addiction?
They had a thing in the paper about recently about driving while intoxicated on marijuana, and the big headlines were 4 people's licenses were suspended for marijuana use, but it didn't say how many people had lost their license that night for drinking and driving. This was something that Jody was mentioned in the article also. Apparently none. I was wondering how many were...
It was very strange. The cops thought that was very strange, too, that they had a night of fishing for impaired driving. 4 for pot and none for alcohol.
So apparently, in this particular article that was printed by the Abbotsford I guess we're not calling them VP, Abbotsford Police, that there was 4 people were 24 hours for being intoxicated on marijuana. And was it the Cheech and Chong style? Did it just smell? I guess one was Cheech and Chong style. We had a Cheech and Chong style, so they were definitely. The other 3 probably had a bag of weed in there. And I always said, well, how many were actually cited to see if they were on pharmaceutical drugs? Because, I mean, half the population in Abbotsford are on pharma because we have probably the most people that are senior citizens out there. But, I mean, everybody is using some way of form or another for pain control. But in the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, I know what I was like when I was on Oxycontins. That was a nightmare, and I had a license. I had no problem driving around. I shouldn't have been at all.
It's about impairment. If you can take the drugs and be cool, then you're cool. Like, I smoke weed every time I drive constantly. I don't take Oxycontins and drive. But, I mean,
well, actually,
but some people might be able to take those and handle
pain,
it, though.
I guess, yeah,
people that jack
fine.
those things all day, and you're going to be fine because you get used to it. You know? It's like the scene in Pulp Fiction where John Travolta does heroin and drives home. He looks pretty cool, doesn't he?
That's fine. I could do.
It's a bad example, but
Bad example. I'm just gonna drop.
I think he
some
also drives over
acid.
somebody's lawn and nearly into his house eventually. But that's
Yeah, you know,
because
I've probably seen
that's
this
'cause he's
show about
upset.
30 times, and I can't remember right now because Dave's not here, man. That's what they're saying in.
Dave's
chat.
not here.
Dave's not here.
So,
Kiwi's
also,
walking
there's
in.
another thing. Oh, Kiwi.
We got Kiwi stumbling in.
I
here.
had another news item I wanted to talk about. Wait, the show can't go long today. I got to get out of here before it's too late.
That interview with John Conroy.
We're going to play the
that's going
Conroy
on.
interview, but that's coming
That's
soon.
important.
That's about 20 minutes long, so we still have some time to kill here. I wanted to talk about Chile. Now, this
cool.
is this is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
This
It's
is exciting.
definitely an extract world in Chile right now. You can have rosin
and
all day
actually,
long.
you know what? This is also cool. So we're going to get another video up here.
Yeah.
But first, I'm going to read this, and then we'll talk more about
what's
it.
happening in
so
Chile,
Chilean
guys.
President Michelle Bachelet.
Bachelet.
I don't know how you say that with a Spanish accent, but Bachelet signed a decree last week to remove cannabis from the country's official list of dangerous drugs. That's pretty cool. The pivotal move comes, this is my article I'm reading on the front page of Cannabis Culture. The pivotal move comes after years of legal limbo for Chilean cancer patients and other victims of illness and injury who couldn't legally purchase the plant or its THC-laden products, which are prescribed by doctors to relieve pain, according to the Latin Times. So there's actually been some pretty brutal cases in Chile where they've gone after medical marijuana users, like the mothers of children for their kids. Like a newborn baby, they took away from the mother. She wasn't allowed to see her kid, or was only allowed to see it for an hour a day because she happens to use medical marijuana for pain in her leg. So that was one that made international news. There was even a BBC article about it. I posted a link to it in my article. But this latest order is cool because it not only does it take it off the list of hard drugs, it allows pharmaceutical products which contain cannabis, cannabis resins, extracts, and colorants to be sold to the public in pharmacies or laboratories, providing they've been submitted to tests. So that's pretty cool. Planting, selling, and transporting pot will still remain illegal with penalties of up to 5 to 10 years. So it sounds like a liberal Canadian increased penalties issue or similar penalties. Now, the cool thing, what makes this one a little bit different is that despite the fact that there's still these planting, selling, and transporting penalties, they're allowing forced production, though. So despite that, I say in the article, Regional Agriculture Authority approved a 69, so almost a 7,000 plant marijuana farm to be grown by the Dea Foundation, who is this group, I think it's a nonprofit group, who've planted 20 strains of high-potency pot seeds that are going to be harvested next April and converted to cannabis oil when they harvest them and distributed to the 4,000 patients through Chile that are there already. So, and they actually have a documentary film that they've made about this group growing it. And that's what I was going to get the trailer for the video up because it's worth watching, definitely.
Yeah, this is really cool, guys.
But yeah, Mark and Jody went to Chile. Did you see Jody's photos from Chile?
Of course I did.
Yeah, she had a bunch of really great photos.
Yeah,
If you're not following Jody on Twitter or on
Definitely looking
Instagram,
at
you
all
should
the
do that.
Great photos, Mother Nature. She takes great pictures of just what we all like to see, you know, like just some of the scenery that you don't get to see around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, Jody, well, 'cause they do a lot of traveling, but Jody is just a great photographer. And Chile is cool because they have Expo Weed there, which is this big, huge...
So everybody just got back from the Expo Weed out there?
It's like the Spanibus style, you know? It's not as big as Spanibus, obviously, but these weed expos are really big all over the place now. And, you know, Latin America is coming a long ways on this issue. We have Mexico, obviously, the Supreme Court decision in Mexico. That's not binding or anything, but that's pretty dope.
That's pretty dope. Everybody can grow.
They're making some law reforms there.
We're seeing change. It's going around the world.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, Uruguay too, Colombia,
around the world, Colombia,
but also, of course, other places. But Latin America has more of a progressive sort of socialist thing going on down there that they've had for a while. That the United States government has been attempting to subvert with coups d'états and assassinations of leaders and families and death squads and
things, beheading people and.
Yeah, the U.S. government essentially has caused so much pain and suffering in Latin America. Single-handedly, it's unbelievable. Well, around the world, even the U.S.
Isn't that around the world?
Yeah, the U.S. is really the biggest terrorist organization on the planet that goes around the world committing terror against all of the local populations that assert their own will, that want to, like, you know, take some of their land back or own some of their own corporations or do some of their own things. The United States government, the imperial United States government, refuses to let that happen. So they go around the world murdering people to get their way, essentially. So anyways, I'm ranting.
I just stopped because I was about ready to like get rated.
I've been reading too many books that are really pissing me off. This one I can't stop talking about, The Devil's Chessboard by David Talbot. Man, it's so horrifying and shocking. It just makes me shudder.
The Devil's Chessboard. You heard that from Jeremiah.
The Devil's Chessboard by David Talbot. So that's some good Christmas reading. Get that one. It's like 780 pages, the book, but it's unbelievable. It's absolutely I'm like about that close to finishing the whole thing, and it's just like, it's making me angry. I really am feeling angry today for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, you know why?
It's not angry, but
because what's happening in our cannabis community, and we're just seeing so much bullshit happening with we getting an elected new government. That's saying that he wants to legalize, and then we're having all these raids. We're seeing friends go to jail.
Yeah.
People are being terrorized in a sense.
Yeah.
Our clubs are being shut down. Our friends. I mean,
thanks, Justin, for doing nothing.
Yeah, you know what?
Either.
So
we elect this guy with a clear mandate to do this stuff, and he doesn't do anything about it.
So what's the
raids
anger coming
continue.
up? It's what we're seeing. It's what we're feeling. We're feeling like that we're being betrayed, and we're about ready to. I don't know. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I am too, and I want to be happy with this government, but so far they're not doing much to make us happy. Yeah, this is the It's called Green Medicine.
Green Medicine.
Johnny.
I'm getting
he's blind and deaf. Yeah.
Blind and deaf. I just smoked some Jamaican, man. That's what it is.
But blame it on the Jamaican. Always blame it on the Jamaicans.
Gotta blame it on the Jamaican.
Hold on a second. I gotta reorganize my windows here, just so these folks at home can watch this video.
Well,
we're gonna give you guys a little window action here. Desktop, custom area. So yeah, the film. Now, one of the activists that is responsible for this, that's part of this Dea Foundation, I believe, is a famous actress in Chile, and she's been kind of like spearheading a lot of this stuff, and so that's been, I think, gaining some popularity there when they have somebody of note behind the issue. So that's kind of cool. All right, so check this out. Oh, I also need to make sure the sound is available for y'all.
Just kind of burning off all of the extra on the screen, so every hit is a new hit.
Every hit's a new hit.
Every hit's
okay, check out this trailer and tell us what you think after.
New at this, by the way.
El problema principal de la marihuana en Chile es el consumo, no es el narcotráfico, no es el crimen organizado, no es la violencia callejera.
Creo que el problema en Chile de la droga no es el consumo individual o el consumo medicinal, sino que efectivamente las redes de narcotráfico que asolan las calles de nuestro país.
El cannabis es una planta maravillosa, que para muchos es una planta prohibida, pero para nosotros nos dio vida. ya no era una planta para pasarlo bien nomás. Era una planta que iba a servirme como un tratamiento, una medicina. Una droga va a ser buena en la medida que sea bien utilizada para un fin. Una droga va a ser mala en la medida que es mal utilizada para otro fin.
Nosotros tenemos muy claro que los compuestos de la marihuana son antitumorales. Eso lo tenemos muy claro, yo no tengo ninguna duda sobre eso. Lo que no sabemos es si lo son en humanos también.
Enfrentarte a una enfermedad desconocida, compleja, que los doctores te digan espera, a ver qué pasa, si crece.
Probamos 5 anticonvulsivos en su dosis máxima. ¿Cuál de todos con sus efectos colaterales más espantosos?
Yo tengo la impresión, en la posición del Senda, que la gente necesita más protección de la salud. Esta libertad no la entiende, porque es una libertad para hacerse daño.
Al demonizar tú la cannabis, demonizas también a los usuarios de la cannabis. Porque es mucho más fácil en este país echarle toda la culpa a las drogas.
Nosotros no podemos decir que los chilenos viven con calidad de vida. Vivir con miedo a que venga el mismo Estado que te niega tu salud a quitar tu medicina.
Hay mucha ignorancia y esa ignorancia asusta.
Seguiremos manifestándonos hasta ser escuchados y escuchadas. La invitamos, como presidenta de todos los chilenos, a ponerse en nuestros zapatos.
La marihuana, ¿legalizaría su consumo, cultivo doméstico, por ejemplo, y el consumo?
No lo tengo en mi programa, le estoy diciendo.
Y yo me negué a eso. Me negué a esperar en mi casa que creciera. Así que empecé a buscar alternativas. Y así llegamos al aceite.
De ahí surge Fundación Daya. Daya, en sánscrito, quiere decir amor compasivo. Y ese fue el nombre que escogimos porque sentíamos que representaba el desde donde nosotros queremos trabajar.
Es un hito histórico esa aprobación. De hecho, el primer cultivo de cannabis medicinal aprobado en América Latina.
Mira, a la semana bajaron las convulsiones. A las 2 semanas yo saqué un medicamento, que era el Sabril, que era el que le provocaba pérdida de visión. Necesitamos el THC, necesitamos también los terpenos, necesitamos la planta completa.
El acceso a la salud es un derecho humano y el acceso a terapias complementarias para mejorar la salud debe ser parte esencial de ese derecho y esa es nuestra mirada.
Lo que nosotros estamos tratando de hacer es un estudio científico de alta calidad metodológica que demuestre que el uso medicinal de cannabis tiene efectos positivos en, primero, reducir el dolor en pacientes con cáncer y mejorar la calidad de vida.
Primero me dio un jarabe, un paracetamol, y se me pasaba el dolor de cabeza, después me dieron aceite y se me pasó.
Así fue.
You know, it's great to see. It's great to see that Chile's moving forward, and they're able to offer the oil and the extractions for patients. As you can hear, it's working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
More recognition, which is awesome. Like I say, you know, works
Yep.
so well.
Around the world, cannabis is
the green way.
Finally, yeah, exactly.
It's changing the way we look at this plant everywhere.
Well, you know, it's reclaiming its spot because it's been used as a medicine for a long time all over the place. It's just recently in the last
100 years.
Yeah.
100-year lie.
Acting crazy about cannabis. But I guess the people in charge have a reason they want us to stop using it. Never really figure out exactly which one it is. Maybe it's a combination of them, but
Money.
It's just too
100-year
renewable,
lie.
you could say.
All right. And
it's the same reason that we don't have Tesla technologies now. Or the same reason we don't have solar power everywhere.
Oh, wait a second.
For some reason.
I was doing some pricing for solar power. $50,000 is kind of your entrance fee. I mean, who can put in that much money to get solar power?
It should be so much cheaper and affordable. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Edison. Says
hopefully we're going to see better
burn toast
in the future.
And hopefully we fixed our color balance a bit there. Now we're not
how is
so.
our color, guys?
We don't look so like reddish. Now we're a little back to normal flesh tones. What do you got for me, Johnny? More dry sift?
I got you some dry sifts.
Nice. Yeah, and if you want to see a cool video about Tesla, there's a movie called The Master of Lightning. You can watch it for free online if you go to topdocumentaryfilms.com. Watch it there. I think it's also on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely the Tesla technology, and with the Tesla power walls that are coming out with the cars, and it's just a whole new way of looking at energy. And oil is just petrochemicals. They're in everything, but power, free energy is right above us. And it blows,
in the ionosphere.
And it runs in rivers, and there's just so much
and
energy.
What's really cool? If you cross that, if you want a good Netflix night, watch The Master of Lightning, which is about Tesla, and then watch a series called The Pyramid Code, which is on Netflix.
I'm gonna say,
watch episode 2 of it, which is about how the pyramids, and Tesla writes about this in his book, My Inventions. Tesla writes that he stole the idea for the Tesla pyramid, he called it at first, which was the Tesla Tower that he built in Colorado Springs. He stole it from the Giza Pyramid, from the Great Pyramid of Giza, because the Great Pyramid of Giza is built on top of an aquifer, and it's built of limestone. And the limestone that it's built of is full of magnesium, which is highly conductive of electricity. The outside of it, which had a bright white limestone encasing shell on the outside of it, which was non-conductive. It was in an insulator, also made of limestone. And at the top, it had a gold cap. And so it was highly electric at the top of that damn thing. And what Tesla says, or what this pyramid code theorizes, and actually does point out Tesla's notes on it, that it could have easily been exactly what Tesla's was, a way of conducting electricity wirelessly, taking electricity from the ionosphere of the Earth and channeling it through, which was at the time the Nile would have run right past the Pyramid of Giza. So the water underneath makes a natural electromagnetic current that goes up through the pyramid and becomes wireless electricity to the people in Egypt back thousands of years ago. So that's a pretty interesting theory. I would say it's far from proven. But, when Tesla says something, I tend to believe it. Tesla also said a lot of pretty weird stuff about aliens from Sirius. So some of that stuff I take with a grain of salt as well. But,
why would you that?
He also, what's that? Why would I take it with a grain of salt?
If you take a really good look at history,
I've
at
never
now,
been to
we're
Sirius.
going to get into a whole...
I don't know anything about aliens. I've never hung out with an
Really?
alien. Well, not that I know of. Hey, Johnny, that's why. I see.
We all come from places unknown.
Yeah. So there you go. That's something interesting. That's a good Netflix night. Watch The Pyramid Code, especially that episode 2. It's cool.
I say you can watch some dry sifting
And The Master
videos.
of Lightning. What's that?
Or you can watch some dry sifting videos.
Dry sifting videos. That's a good night too. It doesn't have to be Netflix. I don't think you're on Netflix yet, Johnny. But
no, I'll never be on Netflix.
So I guess we should get to our next news item, or our next item here, because I'm going to have to play this before the show goes on for too much longer, and it's already 4:46. Let's get into the raids happening. So,
yeah,
cops are still cracking down. What are you doing there? Which got your banger?
Here you go.
I wasn't sure if that was for me or you.
I'm going to give him a big dab. There we go. That's a little bit of Congolese rosin.
Oh, Jesus! Wow. Ooh wee.
It's pretty smooth, eh?
Good grief.
Okay, what were you just talking about?
What was I talking about?
That's how you...
I don't know, but I'm
We're talking about what the raids were happening.
Red and white today. I
The
just
raids
noticed.
that are happening all across Canada.
I'm like
from
an Amanita
Nova Scotia,
muscaria mushroom.
Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, Nanaimo. We've had right across Canada raids. And you
Halifax.
That's why I said right across Canada. So Halifax, from one end to the other.
Raids are still happening, and we still have Nanaimo cops threatening people, our friends. So the friends that we've had on the show, Rich Scott, for one thing, who was arrested, and we talked to him on the show about this. He was arrested and thrown in the lockup all night with 16 other individuals or 15 other individuals who were also arrested that day in Nanaimo, and they filled the lockup with him. They made him stay there overnight. or for a long time, anyways.
Pretty much, it was packed. There was no room for anybody else, from what I understand.
Yeah.
16 people in a Nanaimo jail. That's pretty full.
From just 3 dispensaries too. That's everybody. They just cleaned house. So we talked to them. Also, Amanda Oram, we heard now. This is secondhand information I just got from you guys, but is that true? Can you? That's verifiable. So Amanda has now been charged.
Yeah, I read that this morning on Facebook actually.
So, good grief.
So we're sorry.
You dabbed me out, Johnny.
Well, it's just that expansion of the so-called THC that we don't know nothing about.
Mind and lungs both blown. So yeah, just like Dr. Clone said in the chat, RCMP sucks donkey dongs.
Well,
that's true.
We're seeing what's happened in California.
Pretty sure, anyway.
We're seeing some common things that are happening, and people are talking about that. We're getting more enforcement.
Yeah, I don't like this increased enforcement stuff. Now, if that's because of the federal government, I'm not so sure. I think it's probably because of rogue police officers, because you're not seeing it everywhere, and these cops have discretion. They can go after whoever they want. And when they get a complaint about a local dispensary, then they have to do something, they say, right? So I wouldn't put it past the Pam McCalls out there
that are making
her directly and the others that are calling the cops to, voice these complaints. It's kind of a cool partnership that these idiots have. People like Pam McCall, her specifically, calling police officers who then are forced to do something, and they wanted to do something anyways, but they weren't able to because nobody called, and then when she calls, it's just perfect, and then so they go and do something and arrest these people or whatever. Rather than they could just say, well, we went and checked it out, and there was no problem. But they arrest 16 people and put them in lockup based on a complaint? Well, they don't have to do that.
And then once again, they say because they're selling to minors.
Oh, yeah, because they're selling it to minors. Yeah, right.
Why do we always hear that?
That's just such a crock of shit. Where's the evidence of that? I'm tired of police officers saying... Where did they say that? Where was that exactly? Did they say that to the press about the minors? They did, didn't they? They put out a press release that said,
I know, because
I want to get that out.
We got to. There's certain things that I just recall.
Where is the fucking evidence of that? Show it to me. And same with Neil's case.
Yeah.
Where's the evidence that you were selling to minors, Neil? Is there any evidence of it? In the police report, I read your police report.
Not allowed.
I read the police report about you, or reports. One did. That's right. A police officer said he thought he saw somebody that looked like a minor. Did he say that you sold to him? See, do you still have those reports? Can I have those? I didn't make a copy. I gave him back to you. I didn't make copies.
He's
of all
like,
that.
you should have made copies.
You think I'm rich? Thinks it's thick as my wrist. No. No. I have a copy machine, but I don't have that much paper. But anyways, I'd like to just read some of the quotes. Anyways, we'll do that damage later. Say what?
Oh, just reading that article.
Oh, yeah, you're reading them. You can find that article about chili on the front page. That's also the one I wrote about it. Anyways, yeah, there's lots of stuff on Cannabis Culture. Go and check it out. Also, this Ben Franklin's Hempen Kite String article by Ellen Comp, who's an amazing writer for Cannabis Culture. I like this one. Good old Ben Franklin. He knew what was up. All the founding fathers seem to have some relationship with hemp or cannabis in some way.
Of course they do.
Pretty cool guys.
Kind of been around since Earth.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Earth, yeah.
Since THC's in the pucker.
Those founding fathers of the United States were pretty cool in a lot of ways. Some of them were slave owners and stuff, but they did a lot of wacky shit, like put a bunch of weird sacred geometry into the streets of Washington, D.C., and I'm not joking, that's not crackpot stuff, that's for real. It's like completely obvious and evident. Just look at it. It's bizarre. They put a bunch of they were like some interesting characters, let's just say that much. They were into some things that we're like beyond what you'd think your average politician would be into, I suppose. But who knows? Maybe more of these politicians are into those things than we think.
They all smoke weed.
They all smoke weed.
They all smoke
Obama,
weed.
Chum Gang.
He
listens to Jay-Z and hits the bong, obviously. Obonga.
I got Obonga.
As if his name wasn't Obonga
Obongo
in high school and university. College. Anyways, I'm going to play this now interview I did earlier with John Conroy.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I want to listen to it. So turn it up.
Jack that shit up. Well, I'm going to play it. Here, what I have to do is play it on my iPod, so I'm going to make sure that all is
I'm going to dab right now.
You need a dab? What are you dabbing on now?
This will be the Congolese 304 dry sift squished with a flat iron with a vice in my hand, pressing it really hard, gripping it at about 140 degrees.
Cool. So John Conroy, of course, is one of our
just to be
most important activists in lawyer form. I guess you can call him an activist, I suppose. He's an activist lawyer. Yeah, he's a pretty hard-working one too. He puts a lot of his own time in, and he's always been completely dedicated to this cause. Yeah, a guy like that is beyond an activist. He's like, he's
part
really
of our community.
Single-handedly made a lot of these changes happen, just by battling these things out. And one of the most current ones, of course, is the Allard case. Now, the end of my interview got cut off with John. Unfortunately, the thing stopped recording right as I asked him my last question. And but I asked him about the Allard case. And there's not much happening with the Allard case because we're just waiting. The update is essentially Judge Phelan has to make a decision.
Yeah,
It could happen anytime.
And we figured it was going to happen mid-November, and now here we are, middle of December. And you know what? We might not hear until Trudeau announces his legalization platform. And then we might, at that point, who knows? Because really there's a lot weighing on that whole thing right now. Yeah, they're probably waiting for each other. As long as I can continue to keep growing, I'm fine. So
I wonder if they're talking.
Of course they have to be. Well, probably not. Is he allowed?
Are they
to
allowed?
talk?
I sure fucking hope not.
There's no possible way Judge Palin is not allowed to talk to Justice Trudeau on this case.
They shouldn't be allowed to talk.
They're not allowed to. The judge has got to make his decision.
The judge should be... I want the judge to make a decision now. Before...
I wanted to make a decision
and he should make it in the positive. People should be allowed to grow at home. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It doesn't make sense to not. Unless Judge Phelan, seriously is... I don't know. I've watched these other judges, and it always pisses me off because these judges are complete... I don't know what the word is for it. I don't want to say something too mean, but these guys are either liars, dishonest in some way. I don't know if they're on the take.
They're paid about $250,000 a year to make decisions for people that ain't us.
They're liars, though. And
Neil says they're paid $250,000 to make decisions. The decisions
that they've made so far about marijuana are
money.
Disingenuous, and they fucking know it, too, because they know that cannabis doesn't hurt anybody. And they still do it anyways. It makes me angry to see, the Chris Bennett case.
Whatever it is, it took a token and gave me a zing.
Oh, man.
To pick me up, right?
That is a zinger.
What is that?
So, okay, I was going to play this video.
You're going to play the video, John.
We were posing for a picture.
Actually, were you posing for a picture?
And we were posing for a picture.
We were asking about that.
And so, here's that's what you get for the thing. Good enough,
So,
isn't it?
here we go. Let's see what John has to say about what's happening with the dispensaries and their fight against the police here raids that are happening right across Canada. So, very much everybody's interested in knowing what our next steps are and what we're going to be able to do to be able to continue to be able to serve patients.
Yeah, now, this is going to be a second because it takes... I'm going to have to unplug it and plug it into this other thing, so give us a second. But
so we're going to give you a second?
Yeah,
and
here.
Go.
You won't hear us for a second, but...
No, here?
I know. Hold on a sec. Here, well, hold on 1 second.
Are we 1 second in?
I got to grab the other side. Hold on a sec.
Okay. So, what we're doing here right now is a little bit of... anyways, pretty much, you know what? What we have is we have way too many clubs being rated right across Canada. And Jeremiah spent a little bit of time. I was talking with him this morning, and he almost missed that phone call. I had to drop him because we were talking about what was going to be happening here. And, I was discussing how this morning I was talking to you about what was happening with the raids as John was calling you, and you missed the call, and you're like, I got to go. That was it. So we're seeing what our issue is. Okay, we coming out? Sorry. So, can you guys hear me? They can hear me? I can't see anybody in chat or nothing. So.
Yeah, they can hear you.
So apparently Neil's court case is put off till January.
7th of January.
How long? Well, they'll keep putting it off until they get involved with it.
Oh, really? Neil, do you want to talk about it for a second?
Neil's going to talk a little bit about his case.
Am I taking Jeremiah's seat?
Yeah, you can take my seat for a second.
We're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, the farce continues, eh? The farce continues. About my 12th appearance, I think, at this point, and I went in there after having viewed the video with a lawyer and finding that it is woefully lacking in any evidence that could be used to convict somebody. And I told the judge that. I said, this is what we've seen. And not only that, I said there's been talk about the certificate of analysis on the controlled substance in question. And the prosecutor on a few occasions has said, and then the final thing was that they're going to have it, when trial happens. But the truth is they're not going to have it at all because they have no controlled substance to analyze, so there won't be any certificate of analysis. And those two things should be enough that this case be set aside. I said it was a criminal misuse of public funds and a waste of the court's time. The judge then asked the prosecutor if they were going to continue, and the prosecutor said, yes, we are. So then it was put off till the 7th. I tried to tell the prosecutor, that not only is there not sufficient evidence in the film that I got, but the film is missing a whole bunch of components to it in areas where I had conversations with their video crew, and that's not included in that, and that's all relevant to the case. But he referred me to the prosecutor's office. They wouldn't give it to me. They said that if I've got a lawyer that's helping me with this, then that lawyer should get in touch with the prosecutor, and that he'll tell him.
Well, that might just be the next step. The lawyer gets in touch with the prosecutor, and then all of a sudden now that he's got a lawyer, maybe they won't proceed. They don't want to waste their time. But as it stands right now, there could be reasons and what I'm hearing, it's everybody else's case is being dropped. Is that correct?
Yeah, the other three who are charged with obstruction, they've had their case dropped.
So as it stands right now, Neil's being charged with possession for trafficking.
Trafficking.
Trafficking to minors or just trafficking?
No, just trafficking.
Just trafficking.
Yeah. Although it continues to come up. That came up in the media after the end of Cannabis Day. I was very upset to hear that. Still very upset to hear it. It hasn't come up in the court. It's not in the particulars. There's only the mention of the one officer of seeing people he believed to be under the age of 19. I don't think I talked to anybody that day that was under 20 years of age. I want to see the victim if there's a victim. I want to see a harmed child if there is such a thing.
You ain't going to see a harmed child, so you ain't going to hear any of that. You're going to.
It's so ludicrous,
It's a matter of. I find when a system pays a system. So once lawyers start talking with lawyers, then things start changing.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And that's just the way you always start seeing how things work. Even like with myself, representing a lot of different things. And once you get into a lawyer, then things change.
Yeah.
Even with ICBC, try to deal with ICBC, get a lawyer, all of a sudden ICBC starts changing things. So it's a system, pays a system. And I see that with everything.
I see.
Yeah, so just little things that we see as in life is
sometimes it's like, okay, yeah, here's the lawyer, here's the little thing, and then the lawyers, they start collaborating, a little bit of money's passed back and forth, everybody's happy, and things go away.
I'm unhappy with the wasting of our tax dollars. I think that's a horrible thing.
But
I'm unhappy with what happened there that day when I look back on the force and the tactics of the VPD and what their intent was. I'm very unhappy with that. As for the other side of it, I'd be just as happy to have this continue and put this before a judge and a jury than I would to have them drop it. If they drop it, it's a win for sure. But I think it's also a win every time we go into court and expose the hypocrisy, the absurdity of what's going on here with this stuff. I'll be quite happy. The tape that they did give me, it shows me in there standing up to the officer that was with the video crew, that would be Brandon Steele, and telling him that this is a bad law, that they should stand down, walk away, that we're there today to protest what is a bad law, and as good Canadians, they should do the same. I'm quite happy to have that shown to a judge. So it's a funny case.
So it is a funny case, 100%. And you know what? Good on you, Neil. You're fighting for what you believe in and your cause. And,
I'm kind of torn, John. I mean, I'm not really sure what to do here because, on the one hand, I don't think they have evidence that there was any cannabis sold there that day. On the other hand, I'm standing up and telling them, yes, that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing here. That's what we're going to keep doing here because that's a bad law. So it's almost funny. I want to challenge the law on that side while at the same time say, go ahead, try to prove that that's what was going on there that day because it could have just as easily been pickles.
Well, I'm pretty sure
that was,
you were sitting on a bin full of joints and you were handing them out. So it doesn't say you were selling them. You were freely actually.
Well, actually, in the particulars, not only is there no mention of me selling cannabis to anybody.
Yeah, you weren't selling.
But
right?
there's mention there that an officer says he definitely did not see any money change hands.
Yeah, like I said.
So it's a funny thing.
But I mean, that's what Mark went to jail for in Saskatchewan.
It doesn't
he went to
matter.
jail for passing a joint.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't matter if money changed hands
months.
or not. Trafficking is trafficking. They say that they saw hand-to-hand transactions with what appeared to be cannabis. Well,
how's your file coming?
It's kind of what we were doing there.
About 1 minute.
1 minute.
Still have time to fill.
You did. One more minute.
Well, I'm more optimistic than you guys. I mean, I think these raids are horrible, and I'm aghast that it's happening. After the Canadians spoke the way that they spoke in electing Trudeau.
They're
and
showing
the
all these raids, and then they're going to come with some kind of a.
It's not good that the new administration has not somehow found a way to either stop that from happening or say that was bad and you shouldn't do it. I think they should be doing that. But, we'll see what happens in the not too distant future as these policies start getting put together with their town hall meetings and stuff. Maybe we're in for the same disappointments we've always had with our politicians, and maybe we're not. But it's 2015, and that's why it should be different. And these are sunny ways, and that's why it should be different. And we're here to try to make sure that those things get respected, that we do have a different way of doing things. I think they get it. We had a really good Christmas party here. I want to thank Mark and Jody and all the staff and people who helped put that Christmas party on the other night. That was really, really awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
And,
great times always.
We had a couple of the Liberal riding guys here. The president of the riding association in this neighborhood was here along with another good associate of his. And they've got the ear of the policymakers. I don't know how much difference they can make against the pressure that must be being put on there by the LPs and the money interests.
It's pretty much.
But they do know what we want. They do know what we're afraid of, and they do get it that what we want is to grow our own medicine for ourselves and trade amongst ourselves. And we want cannabis treated in the same manner as other things are treated in. And that's to say that if there's regulations because things can cause harm, then those regulations should be applied to cannabis. If cannabis is causing less harm, then there should be less regulations. And it certainly is known that it causes less harm than, say, tobacco and alcohol. So the regulations should be at least
but they don't see it that
less
way.
than that. And when you can buy
they
tobacco,
they don't see cannabis as being less harmful than tobacco.
Well, but it's supposed to be evidence-based. That's what they said they're going on.
So
this is 2015. Let's get with the program. Reefer Madness is bullshit.
I'm right behind you, 100%.
So, and even if it was the same, even if it's the same as cigarettes, if we just don't somehow realize that there's 5 million people a year dying from cannabis in some form that we just haven't pegged yet, but even if it's the same as that lethal poison, then let's sell cannabis the same way it's sold in grocery stores and gas stations and cafes, and things like that as well.
Well, we're gonna see
legalization in Canada. It is going to happen. It's going to happen.
And let's lead the way.
And well, you know what? That's the whole thing.
Yeah, let's get it right.
What model are we going to see? We have some good peoples that are in the front lines fighting for us, like Hillary and even Philip Lucas. There's lots of these people that are involved with these LPs that are involved.
Well,
in
Philip
the industry.
Lucas, unfortunately, is associated with an LP, and I think he's happy with $10 a gram weed. And I think what we need is $2 a gram weed to get the gangs out of the business.
I take a look at everybody's got their different mandates and what's happened. I remember sitting at the United Nations in 2008. Well, Philip
I was
made
there too.
Quite a speech, and it was like, you know what? He fought hard. He might be where he is, but you got to remember what he did a lot.
I believe he's a good guy.
Great guy.
But, you know, he does represent commercial interests, and those seem to be the interests that are trying to...
access for patients. That was always his concern, access for patients. So, I mean, that's where I look at, too. I look at access for patients, and everybody's got their different mandates, like yourself. But, I mean...
Patients got to grow. That's my mandate.
Patients got to grow, but we also need access when we're unable to.
Absolutely.
And that's another thing that
and not at $10 a gram.
And that's why we're going to see prices hopefully slowly diminish in these LPs.
Should come
Start
quick.
seeing things like suppositories maybe that are going to be covered through our coverage and stuff like that. Because I know they're not going to give me a gram of weed, but I mean maybe I'll be able to get the medicine that I'm needing covered through some kind of pharmacare when I'm getting into these type of areas.
If it's offsetting the use of other pharmacare that is covered, then it should be covered.
Exactly.
If it's improving your life and allowing you to be functional as a human being, we should help you with that.
And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at access, and I think that's a big thing that we're going to also take a look at. So.
But like I say, no more harsh restrictions. We're ready to roll. This is good. Thanks for having me. Peace and pot, all that.
Can't wait to find out more about what's
Hey,
happening
the
with
studio's
Neil's case.
almost ready. We could have been broadcasting from there.
We're going to be broadcasting soon from this new studio. These guys be working hard.
Yep.
It's awesome.
It's just about ready. We didn't do it today because it's not all. We need the curtains and everything in there. We need more stuff in there.
It's echoey.
It's not
that's
ready.
all.
Let's just not jump the gun yet, everybody. You know, I know we're excited. Let's just take it easy. And so, anyways, I figured everything out. Yeah, I was missing a cord I needed, so I just ended up moving the data from one of my computers over to the other computer. So rather than doing it externally, I'm doing it internally. Anyways, you don't need to know the details. It'll work now. So check this out. This is my interview with Mr. John Conroy, who is absolutely amazing and awesome guy. Hopefully we're able to employ his services to fight back against these damn raids, because it ain't fair, man. It ain't fair. These raids are wrong, and they're hurting people, and you know, patients are suffering.
I
the
keep
people that
saying
run these things are
patients
suffering.
need access, and these clubs are the access that patients need right now.
You know, it doesn't matter what the federal government does. If they don't make a system that we want to use, like a good one where we can get good pot and we can go to with good people and stuff, we won't be using it. You know, we're going to have a black market. If they don't if they can't replace the black market with something good, then we'll still have a black market, no matter what they try to do.
No, 100%, Jerry.
That's it.
What we have with these clubs is we have compassion, we have groups, we have people that have a place to go to and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And really, they're not going to be hanging out at a pharmacy. They're not going to be They're not going to be waiting in the mail at the box so they can all hang out. So
yeah.
I mean, there's so much more.
No, and they shouldn't be hanging out at a liquor store.
Exactly. I mean, people don't go to a liquor store and hang out. Yeah. There's so many different things. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on the whole liquor store thing, but still, I believe there needs to be cannabis-specific stores that are made for selling cannabis, and that's
people
all
that are
they
educated,
do.
they know what strains
exactly.
are for these conditions and all the different things with terpenes. With,
exactly.
There's so much more to this plant. But,
yeah.
Let's hear John, because we keep ranting.
Okay. Well, so I guess we'll play this, and this will be the end of the show. And after that, we'll see you guys soon. Next Friday, back again. I'll see you on the Wednesday show before that, probably on the Monday show. 4 p.m. is the time on all those dates. Opus, Marijuana Man, Al the Alchemist, Carly Marley, not in town right now, but
back for the New Year.
Yeah, Ms. Kush Queen.
There you go.
Yeah, the crew. And you can watch Redbeard tomorrow. That's Saturday at 4 p.m.
Is it Friday today?
It's Friday today.
I always like full on Fridays.
Today is Friday.
Today is. I name my days. And
what? Redbeard's
Hudbert's
100th show. Is it his 99th or 100th?
100th.
I think it's his 90.
I think he posted 100th show.
Oh, maybe it is going to be his 100th.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if it's the 100th or the 99th.
Yeah, let's just bring it up on
If
the
it's 100th, it's going to be nutty.
100.
It's going to be crazy. All right. Well, anyways, love you, Pot TV. We'll see you soon. Listen to this interview. John Conroy. Dispensaries. Peace.
Are we out?
Jeremiah here. I'm with John Conroy, a lawyer the cannabis community in Canada knows very well, who has been working on the Allard case and has worked on many other cases. John, it's good to have you on the show again.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Now, John, there's been a lot of stuff heating up here across Canada with raids on medical marijuana dispensaries. The dispensaries, the local ones that exist in the gray zone, not the LPs. They're still illegal. The cops are going after them. Justin Trudeau has said he supported them in the past. Is there anything that these dispensaries can do to stop the raids or fight back?
Well, number one, I don't think it's federal government initiated. We're still sort of trying to find out what things are leading to them. In the Nanaimo dispensaries, the allegations anyway are that they were not following the sort of accepted rules because there's others there that have been left alone. The one in DeRoche, the rumor was that somebody said they were selling shatter, and with the hysteria a few weeks ago about shatter, that may have been what led to that. And then Vernon got letters, but they're all sort of debating what to do, whether to some want to close down and others are going to stay open, and we're talking about a possible court action. So that the dispensaries, I think groups of them are coming together to figure out whether they should either stand firm and run the risk of being having a raid with search and seizure and all the consequences of that, or to temporarily shut down and get the matter into court and have a court rule on it. And the court issue, of course, is we say that dispensaries and clubs are part of reasonable access under Parker. That the government, while they came up with the MMAR, we went to court numerous times over the MMAR in terms of its restrictiveness, and invariably the courts agreed, but the government of the past came back with such restrictive interpretations. Then they bring in the MMPR, and it appears that many of the patients who either weren't continued under the MMAR or have fallen through the cracks because of the rulings, then after their experience with the MMPR, appear to have voted with their feet and gone to the clubs, leading to the demand that fueled the resurgence of all of the dispensaries. So I think at the moment it still looks like individual sorts of things in individual areas. It's certainly not, as I say, I'm told it's not federally driven. And it seems to be, again, mainly RCMP territory, not like Vancouver seems to still be fine, other than, of course, going through the whole bylaw process and who's qualified and who isn't and so on and so forth there. So I think it's too early to tell, but at the same time, as I say, a group is forming, like the coalition in terms of the patients, a group is forming in terms of the dispensaries. It may end up being the same group or different groups all trying to do fundraising in order to bring another court case to at least clarify this. If we can't get the government to move forward quickly to freeze the situation and hopefully put in some reasonable regulations so everybody can move forward. I mean, our view has been, it's not that complicated to do this. The BC Compassion Club's been around almost 20 years. There haven't been any downside problems from it. The community supports it. So, all we need surely is some amendments to the Excise Act to cover the federal aspects as they have for tobacco and alcohol. Create a Cannabis Control Act federally for other issues, and a Cannabis Control Act provincially. Get the age limit set, maybe some packaging rules, and really, what else do you need? We don't have to be as restrictive, surely as some of the U.S. states have been, with only 1 ounce or 2 ounces, leading to all kinds of problems between the medical community and the social community in terms of access and so on.
Mm-hmm. So, John, I was just going to say, it seems that the way it stands now, Justin has said before the election that he did support the Winnipeg dispensary that's in the same sort of gray area as the rest of the dispensaries. But now, once he was elected, the police, when they do these raids, they point out that on the books, these things are still illegal. But yet we have here in Vancouver, for instance, the cops just saying, well, we're not going to go after it because it's not illegal. Where does the power lie? Like, is it that, is it that police are just allowed, in any local jurisdiction to just kind of roll with it on their own discretion?
The police have a discretion to enforce the law, and some will interpret it as, there's no licensed dealer permits, there's no provision in the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act for the dispensaries and so on. So they do that strict interpretation. But our analysis obviously takes into account what happened before in terms of the Allard situation and the patients and the attempt to take away their ability to go or have a caregiver do so for them. And so here's another aspect of that. So it falls within a constitutional analysis. The court has said, government, thou must give reasonable access. We say reasonable access includes people being able to go for themselves or have a caregiver do so for them. And we say, given what has happened with the MMPR and its ineffectiveness in terms of people, older people who don't have credit cards, trying to access through the MMPR and the LPs just doesn't work. And so it's not reasonable access. So, our analysis is a legal constitutional analysis, which some police will maybe accept and others don't. And that's the problem. That's why we need the government, I think, to step forward and say, look, a moratorium while we sort out the situation, remembering there is a big distinction between people going for themselves or a caregiver doing so and one selling it as medicine to the public. It's been an unregulated, essentially, or self-regulated market up to now. And so government is going to undoubtedly want to put in some regulations in terms of limiting access to youth and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, hopefully they'll pick the same age limit as tobacco, which is 18, but that there's also provision, of course, for medical access with doctor and parent approval for people under the age of 18.
So Justin could then put a moratorium right away, or could they deschedule it, or are there other options on that level?
Well, he could deschedule by simply an order in council taking cannabis out of Schedule 2 to the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, and bingo, it's no longer criminal law, but it would leave a vacuum. And so that's why I don't think they'll do that. Or if they do it, they'll do it in combination with having the province ready to put something in place that regulates licensing and distributing.
Mm-hmm. Now,
otherwise it'd be a vacuum, and that's not going to happen.
Right, yeah, and gangs or whoever would fill it. Somebody would.
Yeah.
So, John,
that's the important thing, is that whatever they do, and there's going to be taxation, they got to make sure the tax is reasonable, so you don't have the situation that Colorado had for a while of somebody on the street corner saying, sell it to me I'll sell it to you without the taxes, that sort of thing. So they have to make sure whatever they do is reasonable, and the idea surely is to flood the market so that organized crime is no longer involved.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and in BC we're seeing this liquor store proposal with the Union of Liquor Store Representatives and the actual private liquor stores getting together. So we'll probably see a lot more of those across the country, I would imagine.
I think that's a good thing. I think, we have to recognize that we have craft brewers, and craft brewers now can market in the liquor stores, so that hopefully they allow for the whole range of the larger producer, the smaller producers, the specialty producers, so that there is a market for all of them and room for all of them, and not to the exclusion of some.
Now, John, the arrest that just happened in Nanaimo, for instance, there was 16 people arrested at 3 different dispensaries. Will those charges stick, do you think, in this landscape? Are these people really going to have to... what's going to happen to these folks?
Well, I have no idea I don't know any of the detail other than just rumors and bits and pieces I've heard, and so it really depends upon what did they do to attract it. But, if it's simply a business of they possess for the purpose of trafficking, or they're trafficking and they've got undercovers that have gone through and they've got the evidence, they could pursue it. I would suspect that counsel will try to delay it to at least determine what the government's position is. It's an odd situation to be proceeding with charges under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act when the government has said they're going to legalize.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first thing we'll say to the judge is, hey, judge, you don't need to deter people anymore because it's going to be legalized. So it's an odd situation.
Right. And now, John, you said that these dispensary groups have been getting together. Have they then approached you with any, options, or is there?
Yes.
What would be the options? What are the avenues you could take?
Well, at this point, I've been approached by some of the people in Vernon, and I think Kirk's been approached by some as well, and so it's just at the talking stage of trying to see what the best strategy is.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, one option is for them to carry on and be defiant, but they run the risk of being busted and the consequences of that, versus stopping temporarily and saying to government, okay, we've stopped now, let's get some rules and regulations in place pronto in order to move forward. So it's really a business of them trying to, decide which of those options, and are there any other options? I mean, another option would be to file in court and to seek a declaration that they are part of reasonable access, and to restrain any action by the police pending some further developments by government or whatever. There's pitfalls, there's pros and cons to all of them. It's not a clear-cut thing that a court would necessarily go for in the same way as for patients and caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering it is a commercial thing, dispensaries, even though, I think the focus has to be on the patients who have been unable to get reasonable access, either because they can't afford the LPs, they can't afford maybe some of the dispensaries and clubs even, and those are the ones who want to grow for themselves or have a caregiver do so. But there's still other people who can't access LPs, or they found the LP system wanting, and they can go to a dispensary and talk to people and get information and look at product and so on and so forth that doesn't exist with the LP process. So government has to realize that people need a dispensary. A lot of patients that's the way that they will reasonably access their medicine.
And now there's another sort of twist to the whole situation, because we have, like in the city of Vancouver, we have the city council enacting new bylaws that would basically shut down 80% of the dispensaries if they were enforced. Of course, now we have all of the new federal government coming in. Where does that leave the city of Vancouver, really, and some of these dispensary operators?
Well, I think it's going to depend to some extent on what powers do the feds keep, what do the provinces say is their jurisdiction, and then inevitably local government has a role to play, and that's what Vancouver's trying to do, is to say our jurisdiction is zoning and uses within the zones. We can't control cannabis or decide whether to make it legal or not, but we can control where it goes and that they have to meet certain standards. And so that's what's going on, and with them spreading that out throughout other municipalities, I think it's a step towards legalization. The sooner they settle these sorts of things, the better. People have to expect that there are going to be rules and regulations, and at the moment it's supposed to be medical, and so people have to try and meet those rules that the city has put down, or seek variance through the Board of Variance in order to be able to continue. Dispensaries that are not really medical, that are not asking people for, doctor notes and things like that, can expect that, it isn't, they aren't ready yet to let you do that. As much as we'd like to see that developed, and the sooner the better, you can expect that it's not going to be a free-for-all market, even when legalization comes.
Right. Now, but in the landscape it's in now, it's hard for them to enforce these laws as it is. If we have a landscape where it's a more relaxed situation, what if these dispensaries just stay open? Is there a lot that the city can do to shut them down?
Yeah, they could come in and bust them, trafficking.
They could, so they would, even in the new...
It would be the VPD, they'd instruct the VPD that these people are acting, whether they're investigate the under control drugs or whether they do it under the bylaws, operating, outside the bylaw and being penalized under the bylaw, which often they have daily financial penalties as a disincentive to people to do that.
Daily penalties. So, at this time, they could even do that to, say, our vapor lounge at Cannabis Culture.
That's right.
So we're all, there's no guarantees with any of this stuff, essentially.
Definitely no guarantees. We're in a total sort of market situation which has been unregulated for a long time, or, as I say, self-regulated, because I think with CAMCD and so on, they've been very responsible, many of them. But there are some, as happens in everything, that maybe aren't as responsible, and I think those are the ones that they're targeting at the moment. But eventually, once they've settled on who and how many and where, and the variance is done, hopefully by then we'll have some further movement from the federal government and the provincial government so that it won't be simply a matter of people getting charged and so on.
Mm-hmm. Now, John, I'm not convinced that the dispensaries that they've targeted are being targeted necessarily because they're doing something irresponsible or any different than the other dispensaries. I think it seems more likely that it's complaint-based and that they just maybe didn't have such a good relationship with their neighbors or something.
That's possible, too, because often municipal bylaws are only enforced on complaint.
And I think the police have, in this particular case, the police have even said it outright that, these are all complaint-based things.
Yeah, so that's... And, as I've said to people before, if you control your smell, you have less likelihood of complaint, at least in the producers.
Well, sadly, we have some, like the Pam McCall types who have been calling around. She's aware that the police enforce by complaint, so she's been voicing a lot of complaints, you could say.
Well, hopefully they'll realize that when they get more complaints from somebody like her, that it's somebody with an agenda as opposed to a complaint of something actually impacting the neighbor.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be they have a kind of a sweet relationship going on where there's these local cops who don't like pot anyways, and she just happens to put in a call, and it's the perfect storm to give them an excuse to go and shut them down.
Yeah.
Well, and,
I think people should document exactly what's going on and to show, that get support of all your neighbors in order to counteract Pam McCall and people like her.
Exactly, and that really is. I've been saying that to people with the dispensaries from the beginning. Make friends with your neighbors. But even in Vancouver, where you have dispensaries that are super old and have made friends with their neighbors, with these new bylaws, that's not going to make any difference, anyways. But
I think the BC Compassion Club will survive its board of variance thing because it has good support from the neighbors, including the school.
That's true.
Within 300 meters.
Yeah, but now they were turned down on the first go through, but I guess they have to now step forward.
Before the board.
Yeah, because these dispensaries, and they're giving them time. They have 6 months and time to